All right, here we go again. We're going to read another chapter in Story Thieves. Remember, Bethany is held captive by the Magister, and they're in the real world, and Owen is in nowhere and just met nobody. Here we go. Chapter 14. Tur. Except, of course, there wasn't one. Who are you? Owen asked nobody. And why would I call you nobody when clearly you are somebody? Not that you look like somebody, actually. You mostly look like an unpainted action figure. You talk quite a bit when you're nervous, don't you? Nobody said. My mom tells me that it's charming, Owen said, trying to sound indignant. But you didn't answer my question. That's right, I didn't. You don't belong here, so I'm here to take you home. Why do you not have a face? Or anything else? Backed away slowly. Traditionally, when someone looks either evil or faceless, it means they are evil and faceless. And they're a misunderstood good guy. How misunderstood would you say you are? If you'd be more comfortable, nobody said, I can look a bit more normal. With that, his body began to sprout clothing, hair, fingernails, and everything else one actually took for granted when looking like a regular person. Two green eyes popped right out where they could be, where they should be, and the face split to grow lips and teeth and such. Not a moment later, a handsome middle-aged man with bronze-colored hair stood in front of him, raising a now existing eyebrow. Better? It would have been if I hadn't just seen it sprout out of your body, Owen said. But that's fine. You can still rescue me. The man's mouth curled up in a half smile. I usually go formless when traveling between stories. It's easier that way. You wouldn't want to show up on an alien lizard planet looking human after all. He gestured for Owen to follow him, then began to walk off. Wait, you travel between stories? Owen shouted after him. So you're half fictional too? The man stopped abruptly and turned around, giving Owen a knowing look. No, I'm not. I didn't realize she'd share so much with you. She? Bethany? You know her? Wait a second. Was this man actually her father? Had he really just found Bethany's father for her? What were the odds? Unless this was some kind of twist and he actually wasn't her father and everything he said was just to throw Owen off. Or maybe he was way overthinking all of this. The guy smiled again, just slightly. Let's be off. It's not safe out here between stories. You can get pretty lost, and many never find their way back to the story they're from. You're lucky to have survived so long, though I suppose that's because you aren't, strictly speaking, from a story. As far as you know, at least. Huh? Cryptic. Classic trickster character. Those were always Owen's favorites, and that meant something interesting was happening. And right now, interesting was infinitely better than the boringness of the white, blank nothing. Plus, if this really could be Bethany's dad, Owen had to find out for sure. So, how did you find me? You're not from the Ketbel Nomenfoot books, or I'd remember. That's right, nobody said. But I'll have to take you back there first to get you home. How? How can you get me home if you're not like Bethany? Bam, subtle. Nobody just gave him the same half smile. There are other ways to travel between worlds. Now come on. What did that mean? And why wouldn't he just say who he was? From what I could tell, two main characters just disappeared out of the book. Nobody continued, not looking back at Owen anymore as he quickened his pace. So Owen hurried to catch up. If the last Kill Nomenfoot book were to come out right now, missing Kel Nomenfoot, questions would be raised. Questions no one should be asking just yet. That means someone needs to bring those two back. So, Owen said, shouldn't you be talking to Bethany then? Good luck finding her. She never came back for me, like she should have, by the way. She left me here in prison. Huh, here we go, nobody told him. Stopping in the middle of nothing, he reached out a hand and gently pushed. The entire nothingness around Owen crumbled like he was on the inside of a sandcastle. As someone kicked it down to be replaced by the Magister's study. Okay, that was kind of cool, Owen said. Nobody glanced around a bit, then walked over to the Magister's spell book. He stopped over the book, then pulled something out of the coat he had grown out of nothing, something that looked a lot like a hand mirror. Now, nobody said, holding a hand over the spell book, what I'm about to do isn't exactly magic. It is, but not in the way you'd think. But this spell book is a good way of accessing the power I need. It unleashes magic in this story, and I can use that energy to open a doorway. Not like Bethany does, but it'll get you home. Home? A few minutes ago, that's all Owen had wanted. But a few minutes ago, he wasn't standing unchained in the Magister's study again. There was so much coolness everywhere, and he had to immediately say goodbye to all of it? How unfair was that? There's not really a hurry, is there? Owen asked, his eyes passing over Kill's winged cat. Alphonse was currently curled up by the spellbook. He hadn't even petted the cat's wings, which was supposed to be lucky. And what about all the weird magical experiments still bubbling merrily along, completely unwatched by anyone, which was probably a fire hazard, but still. And then there was the spell book itself. Every spell that Kell and the Magister had ever used, plus a bajillion that would never even get mentioned, all contained in that one book. And because of the whole tricking Bethany into using it, Owen hadn't even gotten to touch it, let alone learn any magic. The hand mirror began to glow as nobody recited words over it. Was this really it? Owen had saved the Magister, and now he'd just have to go back home? Bethany would bring Kell and the Magister back. The story would go back to the way it was meant to, and so would Owen's life. What about meeting Kell's half-robot friend, Charm? Or time traveling, or something? The glow intensified, and nobody held the mirror up toward Owen. On the other side, Owen saw his bathroom and a kind of embarrassing dirty towel on the floor. Whoops. This was as close as I could get it, as you don't have a mirror in your bedroom, nobody said. Now, when you return to the real world, you can't speak about anything you've seen here. If you do, I'll come find you. Trust me, you don't want to see my formless face in a mirror sometime. He grinned humorlessly. You are just like Bethany, Owen said. Neither of you likes any fun. Nobody ignored that. It's time, Owen. I have to get you out of here now. Then go locate those two missing characters before they cause any trouble in your world. No, please, not yet, Owen shouted. Have you seen everything here? I only got to see a little of it, not all the best parts. Can't you just let me stay and hang around? Term is on her way, and the final book is about to begin. Nobody told him. You must leave now. Term's coming here? How now? I can't go yet. I have to meet her. You'd show up in the book, and I can't have that. Nobody held out a hand. Owen's mind raced as he took a step backward. But Kill's not back. If he's not here when she shows up, the book will start out wrong. Someone has to be waiting for her, right? That's the whole point. That readers don't notice anything different? Nobody gave him a questioning look. What exactly are you suggesting? Owen didn't really know. He was making it all up as he went, but his eyes fell on the spell book, and suddenly an idea exploded like a light bulb over his head. There's a disguise spell in there, he practically shouted. Kel's used it before. Use that on me. Make me look like Kel. I can do all the things Kel would have until you bring him and the Magister back here. Then no one has to know. Nobody stared at him for a moment. There's There are so many things wrong with that idea that I don't even know where to begin. Still, you're not wrong. She is about to arrive, and I'm not entirely sure how long it'll take me to return with Kel. He sighed. Perhaps this might give me some insurance. If I do this, do it! If I do this, you'll be completely on your own from now until I can find a safe spot to switch you out for the real Kel. That might not be until the very end of the story, Owen. Do you fully understand what that means? Whatever would have happened to him will now happen to you, good or bad. And you'd have to act exactly like him, or the story would progress in a very different fashion. How well do you know these books? So well, Owen shouted, realizing that wasn't exactly an amount. Tons. I know them by heart. I've read them all 1,000 times. Nobody sighed. This is a huge risk, and I doubt it makes sense. Sometimes the impossible is the only thing that does make sense. Though it makes more sense than what you just said. Nobody rubbed his eyes. I would caution you. I'm cautioned. Nobody gave him a tired look, then began to flip through the spellbook pages until he found what he wanted. So be it. Stand still, please. We're doing it, Owen said to nobody, as nobody began to grumble something. Are you casting? Cast past tense. Nobody corrected, as Owen felt warm all over. Look at yourself. Owen glanced down in mid-sentence and trailed off. Instead of his normal clothing, he now had on a black cloak, a black shirt, black pants, and two magic knife wands in two sheaths at his waist. What? He said, barely able to contain his joy. Are you kidding me? Nobody handed him the hand mirror. Now, instead of Owen's dirty towel and bathroom, it showed Kel Milmanfoot standing in the middle of the Magister's study. I've never been this happy in my entire life, Owen said, touching his face, Kel's face, then pulling out his twin knife wands. This is the greatest thing anyone's ever done for me, or anyone ever. I'm glad you approve, nobody said. Now, do you know what you're doing? Doing, Owen said, still distracted. He'd never seen such an authentic costume before, which just made sense since it was magic. Wait, did he know magic now too? He tried to think of a spell, but nothing sprang to mind. Apparently, his mind hadn't been disguised into Kel's, which wouldn't have made sense anyway. Oh well, there was always the spell book. Charm is just about here, nobody said, walking back toward the wall that they'd emerged from. He gestured, murmuring some spell-sounding words. The entire tower glowed, then magically changed to look a bit more disheveled, as if someone had gone on a rampage through it. Dr. Variety would have torn apart this tower if you hadn't interfered. Now, you as Kel have arrived too late to save the Magister. So I'd suggest morning when Charm arrives. She has the first 6 keys on her hip, but you'll need to locate the 7th key before Dr. Variety's army of science soldiers destroys Magisteria. Finally, you'll need to face down Dr. Variety to stop him once and for all by unlocking the source of magic. Wait! Owen shouted, shoving his wands back into their sheaths. Dr. Variety was stuck in that same place I was, that blank place past the wall. What about him? Nobody gave him a look. I already brought him back where he was meant to go, and wiped his memory of everything past the end of the last book. The story must go on, even if that means setting villains free. He turned to leave. I can't be present when the story starts. Charm is just out about here. And that's where this last book begins. Remember, you came back to find the Magister missing and presumed dead. That's all you know. The rest you'll find out as the book continues along. Don't mess this up, Kel Nomenfoot. I won't, Owen said. I can't believe this. This is the greatest moment of my life. Nobody smiled. Good luck, boy. You'll be fine. How hard can it be to play the hero you always wanted to be, after all? And with that, he disappeared into the same nothingness that Owen had just been trapped in. I'm Kel Nomenfoot, he said to nobody now. Me, Kel Nomenfoot. Alphonse, Kel's winged cat, looked up with an unbelieving expression, then began to aggressively lick his paws as his wings curled in around him. No one asked you, Owen told the cat. Footsteps outside the destroyed door to the study brought him back to his senses. Owen glanced around, then suddenly realized what he was supposed to be doing. He'd read these books 1,000 times. If Kel Nomenfoot had just found out that the Magister had potentially died, or at the very least was missing, he'd be completely crushed, but trying to hide it as much as he could. Owen considered that for a moment, then fell to his knees, dropping his head into his hands. Only instead of grieving, he was hiding a wide grin. This is so exciting. He kind of like acting, only this was playing a part in a story instead of in a play or movie. Kel, said the girl's voice, don't get excited just because this is one of the coolest things you've ever been a part of. Owen slowly lifted his head and glanced over his shoulder at the girl behind him wearing a small black spacesuit, her right robotic arm and left robotic leg uncovered. 2 ray guns were strapped to either side of her waist, and her human eyes looked at him with pity. Her robotic eye, however, just looked at him like a robotic eye. "We were too late, weren't we?" said Charm, daughter of the now deceased president of Quanitarium, science genius, and half-robot best friend of Kel Nomenfoot. She looked around awkwardly. "I'm uh, sorry." Right. Charm hated showing any kind of emotion ever since the loss of her parents. She never knew how to be nice to Kel, and usually just yelled at him instead. Feelings made her nervous, and she hated Kel's jokes, or so she said. The book made it out like she secretly liked Kel and his sense of humor, though, which meant she now secretly liked Owen and his sense of humor, which worked out pretty well because Charm was kind of cute for a half robot with a red eye. "Stop that. Play it cool." Owen took a deep breath to steady himself, then forced a grieving sigh. "I'm sorry too," he said, as gruffly as he could. "It's all my fault. It was Dr. Variety." He nodded as seriously as he could. "There's nothing more we can do here then," she said, yanking him up to his feet with her incredibly strong robot arm. "I was going to wait in the ship, but sensors detected one of the science soldier transport ships surrounding Magisteria now, on its way down here. So I figured I should warn you." "Warn me?" Owen asked. Something exploded just above them, and Charm flipped around, her ray gun in hand, pointing at the stairs. "That we're about to have company," she said. Okay, yeah, this was totally like living out an incredible action movie, only a million times better. Too bad Bethany had to hate fun so much, or she could have been there with him, disguised as a desk or Alphonse or something. "Let them come," Owen said to Charm, narrowing his eyes in what he hoped was a dangerous way. "I'm in the mood to take down a few robots." Awesome. End of the chapter, you guys.